What is up, everybody? Welcome back into Paid for Play. We are back for week 4. It's not the greatest slate in the world, but I'm glad to have everyone back. I'm finally in like a stable or like a steady streaming location after the last couple of weeks having to do it in a road environment. But how are y'all doing today, fellas?
Me, I'm great. I got the Rutgers towel in the background. I got my golf hat on, going golfing right after this. So I'm gonna have to cut short this. I'm gonna have to leave the stream a little early, but Rex and Sam will be here for the full time. I got my Rahway shirt on. That's a Rahway R right there, Rahway, New Jersey. That's where we representing, and I'm feeling great about today. Rex,
It's gonna be a great day, even though the games aren't that great. There's still always your option to make money, and it makes these less appealing games visually a little bit more fun emotionally. So, ready to get locked in? Got one guy you already know, one guest coming in. So we got kind of a good episode where we'll feature 5 people in here. So I'm hype about that.
Well, we can go ahead and get into it. Like we said, it's not the best slate of the day, but we do have Goose has a pretty big game for himself today. Going to Michigan. Rutgers getting 20.5.
Yes.
Seems like a fishy line. What are your thoughts right now, Goose?
So, first off, Coach Schiano left a while ago, 2012, ancient in college football terms. But in 2014, it was still Schiano's team. And Rutgers upset Michigan that game. Schiano comes back 2020, takes Michigan to triple overtime. Both those at home. I'm not trying to really talk about the past, but it does seem like Michigan is a better team. But Rutgers, when they're led by Coach Schiano, plays Michigan well. Sure, there was that 78-0 where Michigan steamrolled them, but that was all Chris Ash and Kyle Flood's guys. And Rutgers took Michigan to triple overtime last year. The reason I bring that up is we lost 2 starters on defense and have everybody back on offense. Rutgers is the same team of last year, and their worst loss last year was by 22 points to the Ohio State, led by Justin Fields. I get the Buckers joke. I get don't let them in the Big Ten, but Rutgers has arrived. This school belongs in the Big Ten now. They've recruited the beefy offensive linemen. They have the 300-pound guys now. And look, am I expecting a win when they're 20.5-point underdogs? I'm not expecting a win, but Rutgers competes. And whatever happens, happens. I just know this is going to be a close game. I can't legally bet on it in New Jersey. Don't want to find a bookie. And you never bet on your own teams. And people are probably listening to me. I'm juicing them up. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm a fanatic. I'm a season ticket holder. I worked with the Rutgers football team. But I don't see how they lose by 3 touchdowns. They're not getting skunked tonight. Michigan is very one-dimensional. They run the ball. The quarterback is a pocket passer. Rutgers should be able to provide a good pass rush. And the key X factor for Rutgers is their kick return punt returner, Aaron Cruikshank, who is a transfer from Wisconsin. He ran back a touchdown in the Rose Bowl. He had 3 returns last year. He had 1 return against UDEL. This is a weapon that Rutgers has better than Michigan. They also have Rutgers has the best punter in the nation. This punter is crazy. He pins the ball inside the 5-yard line all the time. He's an All-American candidate, by far the best punter in the nation. Give me the punter. Give me the punt returner. Rutgers competes.
Rex, you got anything on it?
Yeah, so just as a quick reminder to everybody real quick, since Twitter killed Periscope, if you want to be featured in the show, because I have the Twitter comments open, I can read them out. We can't pop them up. Hop over to the YouTube. We tweeted it out. That is your best way to be interacting with us during the show here. And Goose, this is a game where, are you guys big time? Are you back? If you stay within 14, there's not emotional wins, but for a Rutgers team, from how much they've climbed back up and the Shiano man's getting them there, it's an emotional win. So I'll be happy for you on that standpoint.
I hate to admit it, but you're right.
Here, and when I'm looking at like talent edges and across the board, clearly Michigan holds the advantage in almost every single positional unit. Isn't just that far behind in each one. So if you're forcing my hand and tell me I have to make a play in this, I'm not laying 21 with Michigan. But at the same time, I'm going to be sitting this one out on the sidelines. Do we think this goes over or under, though?
Under.
Yeah, I like Rutgers unders lately. Watching this punter more and more, it's such a weapon. If Rutgers gets stopped at the 40-yard line, he pins him in the 5-yard line. He's a rugby-style, Australian-style punter, and honestly, that's my biggest reason. I love Rutgers unders now. But again, I can't bet them, and I don't bet on my own teams.
It wouldn't be a big Big Ten game if we weren't doing some punter talk. I mean, I'm kind of in alignment with Goose here. I mean, it just seems like Michigan – it seems like the prototypical Harbaugh Michigan season where they kick the shit out of some shitty teams early, and then they like stumble in Big Ten play. I don't think they're going to lose this game at home, but I could definitely see it within 20. I mean, if you're giving me 3 scores, I'm definitely going to take that. I don't see Harbaugh's team, like nothing Harbaugh has done at Michigan has impressed me to where, especially this season, to where I'm ready to like believe in him to cover a spread like this. And I think Shiano's got Rutgers going in the right direction. So this is a test. We'll see if they pass. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to this game, if that says anything about the slate for today. We can move on. I know you have to bounce early, Goose, but we wanted to make sure we got your thoughts on that game.
I ranted a little. My bad.
Yeah, no problem. It's your team. We understand. We will move on, though, to probably the biggest game of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame getting 6 versus Wisconsin at Soldier Field, starting at noon on Fox. I don't understand the spread in this at all. Do you have any thoughts on it, Rex? I mean, is there anything you see that has Wisconsin getting nearly a touchdown in this game?
So yeah, I guess this depends, like essentially where your Sunday opener, this was your special. If you got in the pick the -1 or -2, because depending on where your shop opened on Sunday, that's where it's at. And now it's all the way at 6 or 6.5, depending on your book. And I guess it's more of the folks respecting the hell out of Penn State. They're basically saying that Wisconsin loss, even though it's at home, means absolutely nothing. And especially since this is on a neutral site field as well, and you're giving them the 3 or 3.5 extra points, you're just basically saying that Notre Dame is not going to be able to compete whatsoever in this game, which is kind of interesting to think on my end, because this Notre Dame team, they've kind of been a dagger in the back for anyone who's tried to back them ATS so far this season. I think that's also been taken into account way too much in this line. It just depends. Is Notre Dame breaking 20 points today? That's where I think if you're looking at the spread, I think Wisconsin gets 24 on the board. I think that's a given in this type of matchup. I think they'll be able to move the ball against Notre Dame's defense. Not with ease. I see Sosa just shaking his head in the background. I'm not saying bet on Wisconsin, but if Wisconsin gets 24 points, Notre Dame better break 20, because I don't think they will today. He might add himself.
What do you got?
That's how much we're trolling them.
I'm feeling a lot of unders today, including this one. I quickly looked up. It looks like we have some wind in Chicago. It is the Windy City. I think this Wisconsin team is strong. They should have beat Penn State. They had some bad turnovers against Penn State. I think I respect the Notre Dame rush defense. I think Wisconsin will be able to move the ball, will be able to score. This does feel like a 6-point game, but the under 46, I see it starting to drop. I like the under in this one. I like a hard fought. This to me, this is another Big Ten matchup. Notre Dame's, I feel like, plays sort of like a Big Ten school, and neutral site, windy site. Give me the under.
Except their defense has sucked this year.
They have. But I think this is a big game. They played Florida State opening matchup, and like I don't want to take too much from that emotional game for Florida State. Florida State tore them apart, especially when
they should have lost to Florida State.
What was that?
They should have lost to Florida State. If
Norvell
doesn't ice his own kicker, they win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can shake your head all you want in the background, but they should have lost.
They should have, which makes this -6 feel.
They're in a dogfight with Toledo, I Notre Dame is on my do not bet list, and this line makes not enough sense to me to where I'm just going with what everyone else is thinking. I guess just ride the public instead of fade the public. So, they don't call me the dumb brain for nothing. So. I guess I'm taking Wisconsin in this one. That's an official play for me, but I'll be interested to see how it plays out because Wisconsin had all the opportunities to beat Penn State in the opener this year, and they just didn't take advantage. So we'll see if Notre Dame's defense shows up in this one, and if Jack Cohn gets his revenge.
Revenge game.
His revenge.
Yeah,
game.
I think that's why I think Wisconsin holds the advantage as well. Just like. They know him better than anybody else. They'll probably give him looks that they never did. And he's out. But, yeah, no official play on this game either. I'm betting some gross games today. But the next one is probably – is this your top game of the day?
Top game of the Notre Dame-Wisconsin games, the top hype game.
I like this game much better than Notre Dame-Wisconsin.
You want to talk about ugly. This game is going to be gross. Arkansas versus A&M in Jerry World. Arkansas getting 5.5. Over-under set at 47 as of now. We got the 3:30 kickoff on CBS. It's nice to have the SEC on CBS music back. Best part of any college football day. Any thoughts for you, Goose, before you have to bounce on the game?
Another under for me. This one is official though for me. What is the line right now? What is
47?
47, yeah, under 47. I respect this Texas A&M defense. It's an elite group. Arkansas has looked good, but I think this A&M pass rush will make the quarterback play out of his element a little. Arkansas looked great this season. They beat down on Texas. Texas is not back, and then, but A&M's defense is an elite group. They had a hard time moving the ball against Colorado. They only won that game like 10-7, and a comeback win. I want to say their quarterback went out that game, but First quarter, yeah, and strong defense. I feel like this Texas A&M team is almost built like these old Georgia teams. Just such a stout defense, grind fest. Feels like the SEC is starting to get a little more spready with their concepts. Ole Miss throwing the ball a lot, Alabama throwing the ball a lot. But I see a nice running battle. I see a low, ugly game.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. It feels kind of like a 17-14 game. I know the last I agree it should be played on a college campus. I don't understand. I mean, I guess I understand why it's at Jerry World, but it should be played on a college campus. In the last few years, it's been a very close game, even when Arkansas was the bottom tier of the SEC. And they were always able to hang around. I think with Sam Pittman, what he has going right now, I don't believe in A&M's backup. I think it's Calzada. I don't believe in him enough, and their offensive line has struggled so far. And Arkansas is going to try to run against A&M's run defense. I don't know how well they're going to be able to do it. It feels kind of like a 17-14 type game. So I'm with you there on the under. I haven't officially played it yet, but I do have Arkansas plus 5.5 just because it feels kind of like it's not going to be outside of a touchdown the entire game. Rex, you have anything on it?
Yeah, I was about to say, Goose, if you got to bounce whenever at this point, because I was trying to milk it out to see if our two guests wanted to jump in and talk about this big game or if they're just going to come in later. But this makes me want to play the over because it feels like when college games are played in Jerry World, I think they always fly over. But my issue with this one is both of the defenses just highly outrank these offenses, especially when you got the backup in for A&M. That's where they've kind of taken the step down. A&M has arguably a top 10 defense, and both of their offenses rank somewhere between the 40 to like 60 range. Not much difference between teams with that type of offense. So that's what's been sticking and keeping me off locking in the over 49. I'm hoping we get a slow start. And then, or 47, it's sitting at right now. I'm hoping we get a slow start. I could potentially lock that in live. But now, since this number is sitting at 4.5, that's not enough on Arkansas to make me want to play it yet. The plus one, if you're looking at the 4.5, I would just roll with the plus 170 here instead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, and I agree. I just feel like it's going to be one of those low scoring games. I mean, A&M's defense is definitely one of the top 10 in the country. That defensive line is nasty. I don't know if Arkansas's quarterback can throw enough to get that plus 170 money line. What were you going to say, Goose? Sorry for cutting you off.
I was just looking if I could just quickly give my card, and I got to be out. And I just wanted to quickly say I got, as I mentioned, the Texas A&M under 47. That would be an official play for me. The UCLA game, which I believe you all are about to talk about very shortly. I don't believe in Stanford. I know they switched quarterbacks and they look amazing since, but give me UCLA -4, -4.5. I think they return back to how they've been playing. They dropped one to Fresno State. And then two games we won't cover. I'm on Missouri -1.5 to beat Boston College. Boston College could barely move the ball against Temple because their quarterback went out the game before. This new quarterback looked very suspect. And I am on Buffalo -12, a very random game, but they go to Old Dominion, basically a fade on Old Dominion. I think Buffalo, they showed last week against Coastal Carolina, a very good program that they can compete. They only lost by 2. So give me Buffalo -12. Thank you all, fellas. But keep watching the show because we're about to have 2 guests join in who are going to drop some great knowledge along with Sam and Rex. And adios, everyone. Take care.
Deuces, Goose. Hit them hard and hit them straight. Oh, remove the wrong guy there. So as Goose alluded to, we brought in the ugly guy first because you already know who he is. And then our guest, Sosa, you said you want to introduce Ben from Capwise.
Ben,
so you got it.
Ben Carey. Catch him on Twitter at Capwise and at Ben Carey. I met this guy on Clubhouse. He's everything that he speaks on is extremely sharp. I appreciate him joining us. You guys can catch him on Spaces. He's all over the place as far as just, social media. But, Ben, welcome in. Tell the people about yourself. And, let's get to it.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. A little bit about myself. We'll start off with my college days. I played Division I ball at Northern Colorado out of the Big Sky. Played wide receiver. I honestly was always a guy who is a better X's and O's player in the head than I was an athlete, to be completely honest. So I think it translated well to college football handicapping. And I would say my style, for the most part, is I love to find buy low opportunities and a lot of smaller games off the board, you should say. I'm rarely giving out plays in bigger games, I would say, right? Because I think there's a lot of value in some of these smaller matchups. I mean, that's always been my style, and I love to attack totals too, especially unders. I know a lot of people don't like to play unders, but if you blindly just played every under in college football, I think you could actually make profit, which is pretty crazy. That just speaks to the market, and the market loves their overs, and then there's always the perceptions that life's too short to bet the under, but hey, life's too short not to make money either. So
Absolutely.
This is going to be a very contrasting style.
I was going to say
that's why I think that's good. I think it's good to have different types of mentalities on a show together, because you can really, find some good things out, I would say.
I was about to say, so if you want to spray the board today might be your best one, because Sam likes to call himself the big game hunter, and Ben just kind of says he stays away from them. So we'll get a lot of action on this one. I was about to say, Ben or Sosa, do you guys have any thoughts on A&M versus Arkansas?
I do not.
I don't. I bought that Arkansas team a few weeks back. I was on the money line against Texas. Got my money, basically cashed out. They're a great team, but yeah, there's a lot going on. It's at a neutral site. We still have a young kid, backup quarterback coming in from Texas A&M. I still don't really know, what he's about. So, for that, I'm staying away. And, I will preface this, though. I will live bet these bigger games more than anything, right, than having pregame plays. So I still don't shy away from them from that standpoint. But, so nothing from me at that game.
All right. Well, I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on Clemson getting 10 at NC State. So do you have anything on that? I know that was on our docket, but I don't know if it's.
I honestly believe that Clemson's in a situation where at some point they got to click, man. I think people love NC State. I don't know why. I was not high on them. They had one really good game to start the year. They obviously
anyone can look good against South Florida, I feel like.
Exactly. They went and lost to Mississippi State. They're just not. Yeah, they're just not. They're not as impressive as people make them out to be. I think this might be the spot where Clemson can actually pop out here and actually put it on them. And I think that's what I anticipate. I think today is where they explode, and I think Clemson's in line to cover that. I really believe they cover that 10. And
it's mine. Oh shit! Sorry, never mind.
And then they cover rather easily. And that's just my opinion on the game, just based on the matchup, based on everybody's confidence in this NC State team, and kind of like, people are kind of like scared to, Clemson has not looked impressive. We all know they have the athletes. I think DJ gets right today, and they actually cover that 10.
Yeah, and if they want to have any chance of making the playoffs, they're going to have to click at some point. And they're going to have to start pouring it on teams. I don't know if they're going to necessarily do or get a 48-0 or something on at NC State, but I am in agreement with Clemson minus 10. It feels like one of those games where maybe it's 27-0, because I do believe in Clemson's defense. It's just about whether or not their offense and DJ can finally get it going.
And that's where I'm going. I think I would be the 9.5 and 10 if I had to pick a side spread wise. That's where I would be. I see Roddy in the comments. I don't know if you guys are aware of Sosa's nickname, Hawaiian Scam Newton.
That's what I call DJ. Samoan. He's Samoan. Remember our buddy Split from Hawaii said he's not Hawaiian.
Yeah. He was just like, don't give us him. We do not want him here. That's what he's saying. But I'm on the over 28.5 at minus 115. I hate that I got the hook on this one. But at this point, NC State, Ben has his numbers here and everything. The numbers I look at say they're between 15 and 25th overall defense. I think that comes crashing down. I think that number is a just. I do think they're a top 50 defense, but in all these ACC schools, I'm never buying into their stock, especially these middling ones that tend to go up and down a lot. And this is Clemson's going to be their get right, get back game. Maybe their defense allows a little bit more, so that's why the 10, I'm afraid of the back door there. So 28.5, I'm rocking the team total over here.
I wanted to point out one thing too. This NC State team returned a lot of talent from last year, and Clemson, right, started essentially, with a new quarterback. I know he saw some time last year, but this is a team that I do think will show some positive regression the second half of the season, just because it's interesting with this COVID year. You had so many teams returning, upwards of 80-90% of their returning players, which, for schools like Clemson, they see a lot of turnover because guys just go straight to the league. But for Clemson this year, it really hit them harder than I think it has in the past. But I think long term, throughout the rest of the season, they're going to be okay. I just don't know personally if this is the spot to do it at the -10 with a total just of 48, which is significantly low for college football. I think on average 53, I think is an average total in college football. But I lean Clemson, but nothing official for a play for me.
And did just want to get to a comment for a game we already touched on. Notre Dame first half under 23. Any thoughts on that one, fellas?
I have no thoughts.
Yeah, I know you guys discussed the Notre Dame Wisconsin game. I just wanted to say one thing, or maybe I missed this. With Cone coming from Wisconsin, I was on another show with a guy from Wager Talk. He made a really good point. He's like, this is the classic spot where some sharps are going to say, hey, Jack Cone, he knows that Wisconsin offense. He's going to tip off the Notre Dame defense. And then conversely, Wisconsin's going to know how Jack Cone plays, and they're going to dominate. So whatever happens, you're going to see one side of the aisle say, hey, I told you so. So for that, I have no clue what to expect here. These teams haven't played since 1964. It's in Soldier Field. This is just the classic stay away for me.
I agree.
All right, we'll move on to Ben's neck of the woods. He said he's more familiar with some West Coast teams, so I don't know if he'll be on anything, but maybe break it down for us a little bit. UCLA going to Stanford. I know anyone west of the Mississippi won't be able to watch it because it's on Pac-12 Network, which is slowly becoming one of my main nemesis in the
I don't even get
world.
Pac-12 Network on Hulu, so I have to, and I'm on this side, so that just kind of speaks to the.
I want to know who gets Pac-12 Network because I've been
you have
trying.
Comcast.
Yeah, because they don't. I have Verizon, and I have Fios, and they definitely don't have it.
I have YouTube TV, and I even bought the extra sports package on it, and I still can't get it. So I don't know who gets it. I don't know who has access to it. But I was trying to watch Fresno upset UCLA last week, and just could not do anything but watch on Gamecast. So do you have any thoughts on the actual game, Ben? Maybe not gambling plays. But.
Yeah, I'll just kind of set the stage here. I mean, obviously, the public, it looks like, is expecting for UCLA to kind of bounce back right after that game, which was insane. I almost went to bed last week, and I'm glad I stayed up because that was insane. The quarter Haney or whatever was like limping out there, and it was like a Disney movie. He was like making plays and getting that win. Stanford though, they brought in that new quarterback. He's looked decent. +5. It's at home for Stanford. Man, I don't know. It's a tough one. I guess I lean UCLA, but yeah, I wish I had more for you there. I think it's a tight line, and it's hard to say what's going to happen in this one.
UCLA roll.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the 4 is a good number. I think that's one that we should be on today. I'm just not any bit sold in this Stanford team. UCLA will bounce back, kind of like how I expected Fresno to start extremely slow last night. You can kind of just get a feel in these type of teams, and I think Chip is going to be coming out. The first half could be a good look as well because I just think they come out firing from the gates in this one.
Yeah, that's my thoughts as well. I'm actually on the team total for UCLA in this game, so we're 30 and a half, 31 and a half at -108. Come on, man. Like I get people putting some stock into Stanford beating USC. But I mean, I like USC and everything, but what the fuck do they know about winning the last, you know what I'm saying?
They just fired the coach and everything.
They
That's
fired
where
the
I
coach
think we're
right
getting a
after
nice
that
low
game.
number.
So I'm on Chip and them to handle business tonight. You give me a Chip Kelly team total at under 40 points, I'll take it every single game, because that's one thing you're going to do is you're going to get points from Chip. It doesn't matter if you saw it last week. They lost the game to Fresno. They gave them the ball back with 43 seconds left, and they still lost the game. I have no idea how a defense can play that bad. Their defense is god awful. But think about this. They scored 2 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes of the game and lost.
I don't even understand what coverages they were running. I was watching it, and I'm like, they were playing so soft where they literally were just allowing the middle of the field, like to an extent where, yeah, I couldn't even explain. The safeties were playing like 30 yards deep. It was the weirdest thing. And then, the range of like 10, 20 yards was wide open. They threw it to that guy about 4 times, the same route. I was like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah,
So do you believe in Chip Kelly's defense, or are you confident enough that they still give up points to where we can maybe get an over 59.5?
Well, I think Sosa taking the team total tells you that he thinks he can cover the -4, but he'd rather just get the points because he knows they just have a different will to score. And I'm trying to pull up the numbers on the Stanford defense to see exactly where they rank so far this year.
They gave up 28 to UCLA or USC.
But Stanford's coached well, so that's my biggest issue.
Stanford's got a really good coach, but again, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying into Just not buying. I'm selling them right now. It's just that I love David Shaw, and hopefully he's smart enough to go get an NFL job before this NIL stuff really starts taking off, because Stanford will be supremely screwed by that stuff. Personally, I think that's clear and evident. They know that. So yeah, I don't think that Stanford. I don't like Stanford. I'm on UCLA. I've been rocking with Chip all season. I'm a Chip Kelly guy. I had him against LSU, let me down against Fresno, but the bounce back is tonight. That's how I feel.
Yeah, and another thing too. I sometimes hate doing this, but it's always good to bring it up. Let's say Fresno State doesn't get that win, right? And they probably don't win that 9 out of 10 times. This line's probably closer to 6 or 7, to be completely honest. So
100%.
Yeah.
My biggest issue is I think the whole world is on UCLA today. And that's the one thing that gets me nervous. I feel like we could
the line hasn't really moved at all either.
Well, it opened at 6.5 and it came down to 4. I mean, it depends where your book opens, but this Stanford defense already ranks outside of the top 50. They're missing some key pieces. We're locking in the -4 and getting sweaty, boys.
And it's down to 3.5 now on
it's a little bit of reverse line movement. I don't know how much you guys read into that, but
I'm looking at FanDuel right now. It's down to -3.5 at -112.
All right, good thing I didn't click enter.
Sosa might talk me into the team total over, but I'm trying to stay away from as many bets.
What's the number at Sosa?
31.5. Come on, man! You might get 28 in the first half. They score in 8 seconds.
And they can score. They'll get that score at the end of the first half too.
Oh yeah,
Chip that gets Chip hard, man. He's like, oh, we got a 2-minute situation.
So thank you for catching that 3.5, because I never locked in that 4, because this is the biggest game I want to talk out with you fellas. So 3.5 -112 FanDuel, book it.
That's why I'm here, man. Let's go, Chip.
All right. Well, we'll move on to I don't know if anyone really has any thoughts on Tennessee, Florida. It was one of the bigger rivalry. It's a big rivalry game in the SEC. I mean, it used to be at least. The slate falls off after 3:30. I mean, it sucks. I don't know if anyone has anything. The ABC game sucks. Is there any confidence that Florida can kind of play as well as they did last week, or is it just a total letdown spot for them against a rival?
I think it could certainly be a letdown spot. I don't know. I mean, Tennessee is still like a question mark to me, right? Like it seems like every time you ever want to get high on Tennessee, they let you down. So I don't understand like what they are yet. Florida looked great right against Alabama, so I think this is just a classic game where if Florida just plays like they did last week, they're going to cover this pretty easily.
Yeah, and what the main thing I've seen, I've been listening to a lot of past guest picker Jake Crane from the J Boy Show. He's been harping on a lot of how Tennessee keeps trying to like implement Heupel's system of just going warp speed, and they just don't have the athletes or the quarterback to allow them to do so. And if you try to go like warp speed and you get 3 and outs early against this Florida team, like Florida could have the ball for 18 minutes in the first half or by the middle of the second quarter and be up 21-0 with how much they're running the ball. So I could see it going either way, where Florida just doesn't is like it's the typical letdown spot after you play Alabama, where everyone's just like a little bit more sore. You have some guys missing. But it seems like a coin flip where it's either going to be Florida absolutely rolling it or they're going to be in a dogfight.
Oh, man, I have very few thoughts on this game. I love Heupel. I think he needs to get a recruiting class in. He doesn't, and I hate to say that because you're supposed to kind of make do with what you got. I just think that this Florida team is just more talented. I have no official plays on it. I don't trust Florida to be a dominant team in any fashion ever, just simply based on them having, a shakeup at the quarterback position. And it takes a little time for quarterbacks to get comfortable with Mullen as the head coach. It's just how it goes. Usually the guys don't play well right away. It's just how it goes. Until he finds the guy that knows the offense, the verbiage, how to run it, how he wants it run, it doesn't look good. It hasn't looked good. And that's pretty much my sentiment on it. I have nothing on it.
Under, I think that's the way to be going at it because I think you could potentially get an over. I think Florida had basically their Super Bowl last year. I expect them to come out rolling in the second half here. I just think Tennessee's – I'm not convinced Tennessee gets 3 touchdowns in this game, which leads me to the under. Because as long as I can get that, I mean, Florida could put up 38 and that under still cashes of 64.5. So that's where if I had to pick a side in this one, I'd be leaning towards the under. Trust Florida's defense. Don't trust Tennessee's offense.
And to that point, situationally, a Tennessee first half, it's probably going to be like plus 11, plus 10.5. That could be a good look, right? Just Florida, are they going to come out like they did, or is it just they're going to be a little lackadaisical after just playing such a big game? So it's something to look into.
Yeah, and I'd keep an eye on if Anthony Richardson's playing tonight because that dude is maybe the most electric player in college football right now. Every time he touches the ball, it's a touchdown. So if he's able to go tonight, I think Florida gets a couple quick scores just because of with how explosive he's been able to be so far this year. I will say to Akbar's point in the comments, it was a tight game. It might have been a slow game last year, but I just think with Heupel, with like his system that he's trying to implement, he's trying to go way too fast. And if Tennessee can't get a couple of first downs, that game's going to get ugly quick because Florida's going to be able to score on Tennessee's defense.
Yeah, and I would be careful looking at last year because there's a lot of different faces, new quarterback, different coaches. You can still look at it, just don't put too much weight on that, I would say.
I agree.
And what's your favorite game on the slate today?
My favorite game on the slate, it's actually starting pretty early here. You guys were talking about ugly games, and you said Arkansas, Texas A&M. That looks like a 9 compared to this one. You want to just get into it?
Yeah. Give us it.
So it's Bowling Green plus 31 against Minnesota.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, when you said ugly and said Texas A&M, I was like that seems kind of pretty, like Jerry World, like SEC. But yeah, this one is ugly. Obviously, Bowling Green. I think your first reaction, you guys just kind of showed it. You're like, what? So Bowling Green, this is a program that last year I think they went 0-5. The year before that, I think they only won one game. So they won their first game in over a year last week against a Murray State team. But they've looked decent. I know they played Tennessee in week 1, whatever. And then South Alabama is not a terrible team, and they're not great. Of course, they're still not the best team, but they played all right. So basically, this number. The reason why it's so high is because of how Minnesota looked last week against Colorado. And that was a game that I watched completely because I'm a Colorado guy. But the one thing I took away from that is, Minnesota has a great defense. No one is saying they don't. But Brendan Lewis, quarterback at Colorado, is deer in the headlights right now. I would say he's one of the worst Power 5 starting quarterbacks in college football. I was kind of running through a list. I don't know if I can find a worse one right now. He really struggles, and they don't really have.
I'll find one for you.
Yeah. Go ahead, try to find one. They don't really have any other options. They have a freshman who just came in, but the plan was for them to get that transfer from Tennessee, Strout. He was going to be the guy. I was speaking with some people close in the program. They said Brendan Lewis was never supposed to be the starter this year. Strout tore his ACL 7 days before game 1. They are basically scrambling right now. He can't throw past like 15 yards. I think his longest completion this year is 22 yards. It's really bad. So you're coming off a game where Minnesota, I think, won 31-0, and everyone's seeing this spread, and they're like, well, if Colorado scored 0, Bowling Green's going to score 0, right? I think Bowling Green can get a touchdown. And you know what's funny? If Bowling Green scores a touchdown, I think they cover the spread because Minnesota has a look-ahead spot with Purdue in conference on that side of the Big 12 or Big 10. They just want to get out of this without injury. They've already had their top running back injured out for the year, Ibrahim. So they're going to keep things so vanilla in this game. They're going to run the ball. I think they're going to probably run the ball 80% of the time. Clock's going to be ticking. And it just seems like one of those games where covering a 31 spot is just pretty unrealistic just with how the pace is going to play. And also Bowling Green's our defense has improved significantly since last year. They were allowing 6.8 yards per rush last year, down to 4.4 this year. And the reason why I bring up the rushing stat is because that's what you're going to expect in this one. So anyways, long story short, I think Bowling Green covers this number. It's going to be like a 35-7 type game.
Nick Molinado for you, Ben.
He's out of let me think. Where's he at?
New Mexico State, because the starter got hurt there.
Oh no, so Power 5.
Oh, Power 5.
Power 5.
Yeah, you got it there. You have it
yeah, I was gonna. Okay, he is worse. that guy definitely is worse.
I hate hitting on my man Dino, but
oh yeah, yeah.
So are we gonna go through just our cards as far as like what we like and
yeah, personal cards. Rex, you want to go ahead and give yours since you are the.
I was hoping Sam, you go first.
Okay,
always goes first.
I'll go first. I don't know if we want to talk about this game at all. LSU Mississippi State. I know it's my team, but over 55.5, I feel like is a good play. LSU lost their defensive leader, 6-year starting defensive end for the year last week. And then you drop the news that Stingley's not going to play against Mike Leach for the second year in a row the day before the game.
That's big, man.
Dude, it feels like deja vu all over again. I feel like I'm going to watch Mississippi State go up and down the field and throw for fucking 600 yards again. I don't feel good about it. But if that happens, we officially start the Lane Kiffin to LSU campaign today. We will start that campaign, but I don't want to touch the total, or I don't want to touch the spread either way. If I had to lean one right now with how like you lose your best player and your team cap or your team leader in the same week for the year, maybe at least one for the year and definitely one for the game. It just feels like it feels like a Mississippi State maybe upset. I don't know if it even is an upset with how far LSU's fallen.
Sam,
but-
get off the ledge. They'll be all right.
Everything will be fine, man. Like, just we love you.
No, it's a long way from 2019. Let's just say that we are far from home, Doris.
There's like 90% of college football programs fans who are like hearing you out and they're like, is this guy really complaining right now?
He just won a championship. Like, what the fuck?
You know, but I get it.
It doesn't feel like we just won a
100%
championship, dude. It feels like we got fucking lucky. I mean, it's Gene Chizik 2.0. I'm officially on that train after the UCLA game.
You need to talk to my mom's a huge Huskers fan. Maybe you guys need to have a therapy session because she's not right.
Well, I mean, they're just delusional with they think they're coming back at some point. Like it ain't 1970 anymore where you're the only game on national TV and you can get recruits from all over the country.
My mom called me when they hired Frost, and she's watched Nebraska religiously when that happened a few years back, and you thought like it was like the happiest moment of her life. Like,
how's she feeling now?
She's terrible.
She
asked me, she's like, what are they doing out there? And I'm like, Mom, I don't know. And she's asking the right question. She's like, why is Martinez still the quarterback? I'm like, Mom, I don't know.
What do we think about that game? Since seems like you got some ties, we'll just talk about that one, then we'll finish up.
Yeah, that's a good one to talk about. So first of all, I was looking at BetMGM. They said that this is one of the most bet games of the whole slate, which I find super interesting. And Rory asking about it too. So this one, man, it seems like everyone is on Michigan State, right? Like, you know, the dominant performance against Miami. And I was on Miami last week. I will admit, you know, I was in a spot where I said, hey, let's prove to me that Michigan State is legit.
And winner.
Yeah. And they did. Man, 85%. Yeah, 85% of the handle on Michigan State. I mean, it's just hard to back Nebraska on the road. It's hard to back Nebraska regardless. I understand like last week that made a little bit of sense because Frost kind of came into that game and it almost seemed like it was like his mini Super Bowl, you know, like Oklahoma to him like means a lot more than the players, but he got those players fired up and they look decent on defense, but also Rattler has some issues. That's a whole nother story to talk about. I know Sosa and I have talked about that, but Michigan State's just going to run the ball. They're going to try to control the time of possession. I have to lean Michigan State, but this is fishy to me. It's a fishy spot where, you know, why are they only getting 5, you know?
Yeah, it's a stay away from me completely. Like, I'm going to enjoy hate watching that game, but it's I just don't want any piece of my hard-earned money behind it.
I'll finish my my official card for the week. LSU Mississippi State over 55.5. Clemson -10. Clemson NC State under 47.5. I got it earlier this week, so the line has gone down. I like where I have it right now. Arkansas +5.5. Rutgers +20.5. Hungry dogs run faster. And Rex, we know our dogs are hungry. And Wisconsin -6 to finish out the card. Just short card for me this week. I feel like I've been living in 500 since the perfect week to the 500 land since the start of the season, but we're still kind of up on the year, so I'll take it.
Hey man, that's fine. What was the record in that first week?
4-0.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, you go 4-0, get a few 500s, and then you'll hit another one. It's those like 1 in 6 type weeks that you just have to stay away from.
It was 4-0 the first week, then it's been like one game above 500 every other week. Yeah. So I'll take it, but
I'd take that, yeah.
Right. Yes.
Now to the man of the hour. No. You're not getting out of it, Rex.
I'm going last. Relax.
like what was it, plus 2,000 parlay last week if you hit it.
Yeah, the 5-0. Just pent it up a little bit more. It's 2,580. Someone hit off a parlay off my 5 plays last week. It was nuts.
I almost got dumped because I did not put 25 down on that parlay, and after seeing the ticket cash.
When you specific when like you tell people all the time, like, yo, don't parlay. They
Yeah.
do it anyway. Hey,
That
man,
happened. Yeah,
works out when you go perfect, man.
that happened to us one time where, you know, we're always like, no, we don't recommend parlaying, and then this guy sent me his ticket and he won like 15,000. It was like I think he bet 100 or 200 on it, but I was like, well, what do I know?
Everyone dies. That shit's nuts. I personally, I'm only on a few things for today, and it's 2 team totals and a huge spread. I got Virginia Tech over 39.5 points against Richmond. I think that coming off a loss to West Virginia, this Virginia Tech team is a lot better than they showed. Back in Blacksburg, enter Sandman, ass whooping. Virginia Tech rolls. Obviously, I'm on the UCLA over 31.5. I think that's easy money. And the final pick for me is I'm riding my squad, the Coastal Carolina they're the Monteclairs. Is that it?
Chanticleers.
Chanticleers, the Chanticleers.
The Sharks.
So I'm going to need a book report on what
them.
that mascot is, and you're going to have to come back to us about that.
Minus 35.5. The number's big. I got screwed on a big number last night. My favorite thing to do is run it back. Minus 35.5. They covered the minus 27 last time. Give me Coastal. I love their offense. I love their coach. I love the way they do things out there. That's who I'm rolling with. Those are my 3 plays. Ben, anything else you got that you want to drop?
Yeah,
out?
do you want me to run through everything?
Yeah, run through what you got.
Yeah, so I think it was a Goose who was on Buffalo too.
Correct. Yep.
Correct.
Yeah, that's going to be one of them. I got in pretty early at 10.5, but I feel fine. Where I think is it at 13 right now? I got
my book. It is. Yep, it's 13.
Yeah, I feel fine with 13. Obviously, the market is super low on Old Dominion, but I also feel like they're not high enough on Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo, I think, almost beat Coastal Carolina last week. So, I mean, they can put up points. I think Old Dominion is just, they just want to get a ribbon on their chest and just keep games close. Like they know.
The line just moved to 13.5.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Minus 106. 13.
Yeah, I would say just grab it before it gets to 14. I'm fine with the minus 14. But yeah, that's one of my plays. Second play, I guess Bowling Green. That was one I already mentioned. Let's see here. I'm actually on the under in that Michigan State Nebraska game. That's one of my official plays. I don't see Nebraska putting up a lot of points on the road. And, Mel Tucker is a guy who has already beaten this Nebraska Frost team 2 times. And I think when teams know each other pretty well and coaches know each other pretty well, I tend to lean to unders in those spots. So I'm going to continue that here. I think that's at like 54 maybe. Let's see here. I'm actually surprised the line moved that way because it opened at 52.5 and it went up versus down, which I thought I was going to go down. And I'm usually pretty good about that, but I missed that one. But luckily to give that out right now, it's 54. Any thoughts on that one, on that under?
With the Nebraska game?
Yeah.
I'm going to bet it because you said it. That's my thoughts. I think because that's just what it is. I didn't cap the game at all. I don't fuck with Scott Frost personally. I don't like the guy. I think that whenever in this day and age, when your players are complaining and like there are things coming out about players going to the higher ups about what you're doing, like you think a player would do that to like Nick Saban? Like I'm just asking. Like you think somebody would do that to a guy like him?
No, because he'd be at Jacksonville State the next week.
In the age of like players, coaches, and like people hiring you because people talked about him as a players coach. I think he's done in Nebraska, and I don't think he'll ever get another head coaching job again.
That's almost worse when you put that out there. Like, I'm a players coach, and the players hate you. It's like that's even worse than not being the players coach and them saying that. So, yeah, I think he's gone after this year. And then one more, actually two more. Western Kentucky +9, I believe it's at right now. Let me just double check.
Against the Hoosiers.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is basically, we talk about those like Super Bowl type games for teams. This is the Hilltoppers Super Bowl type game. They're at home. They're facing a Power 5 school.
Mm-hmm.
I think Penix he's playing, but
he needs to not. He sucks.
Yeah,
this guy is the most gun. Like, he is so scared to be hit or touched or anything after last year, and I don't blame him. I mean, he's had 2 ACL tears in the same knee. Like, that third one is coming. So,
yeah,
if you look at the statistics, like, that third one's got to come.
He hit his peak, I think. Like, he
That's sad,
plateaued,
dude.
Oh,
and now he's just an average quarterback. And this Western Kentucky team. Are you guys familiar with all the transfers and how that all went down from last year?
Mm-mm.
So Houston Baptist, this is actually hilarious. This is like so classic 2021 college football. So Houston Baptist's O coordinator, and this is a Houston Baptist team that I think almost beat Texas Tech last year, if you remember that. They were like 25-point dogs, and they almost won and went into OT. Anyways, the O coordinator, he moves to Western Kentucky. So then the starting quarterback from Houston Baptist, he goes to Western Kentucky. And then their 3 wide receivers went to Western Kentucky. So it's basically Houston Baptist 2.0, but that offense can put up points. I think they scored on every possession but 2 in that Army game. And Sosa, if you remember, I was like, hey, let's live play this over because this offense is insane. And I think it went over by 20 points from the number I gave out.
It almost hit in the first half because just remember the first quarter they punted, interception, fumble, and the number dropped significantly.
It was 3 red zone possessions, only 3 points. So I was like, yo, smash this. And Sosa's like, bet, say no more.
But before the first, listen, the over almost hit in the first half.
Yeah.
Because the second quarter, they scored like 35 points.
Yeah. So long story short, if they need a backdoor cover this, they can go with the Hilltoppers at home.
I will say Indiana's defense is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before McFadden left the game for targeting last week, they were up 14-0 on Cincinnati. Like, Cincinnati wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
And
when was the targeting? First or second half?
it was first half.
Damn.
Because after that hit, Cincinnati or Indiana's defense didn't get a stop. If he's on the field, they're a completely different team. Like, I watched it happen live. Like, it was 14-0, and then after that targeting call, it was 38-10.
And not only that, just the momentum, right? Like, your guy goes out, you're just like,
you have the home field rocking, like you're about to go in to make it like 17-0, 21-0, like to close out the first half, and it just completely changed the entire momentum of the game.
These targeting calls in college football fucking stink.
I think
the officiating in college football fucking stinks.
So I think they're gonna fix it. Well, fix it. I think they're gonna start doing like a flagrant 1, flagrant 2 type of
It's the only
enforcement.
way to do it.
I really do.
It's so whack, bro. Like, you see,
I agree.
I'm trying to think who. There was one kid that was playing last week. Like, he got hit with a targeting call, and like he just went to the sideline and was laying on the ground crying. Like, he just
The worst one was the Penn State game. Like the dude who's like just trying to stop the guy from getting into the end zone
at the goal line. Like, what do you want?
There's literally nothing else.
What do you want him to do? Let him score?
Let him
Like,
score?
no,
Like,
it's a one possession game, bro. In the fourth quarter,
And someone goes, well, he should have just extended his arm. And I'm like,
That's not going to stop them.
Really
Yeah,
never,
I'm like,
never
yeah,
played football
break a
one
finger.
day in your
never
Yeah.
played a down a football in your fucking life. That's what you
I was
should
like,
have said to him.
yo,
Like,
when I played wide receiver and hitting someone's helmet with your finger is like the stubbing of the toe. Like it's you just fall down and cry.
bruh.
So, anyways, yeah, I hate the targeting. And then, guys, let me give out the last one. Iowa, Colorado State under. I think it's at 44. I mean, Iowa's defense, obviously, I could just say that, and that may be enough. But Colorado State offensively sucks. They have one guy who's going to be maybe a second-round draft pick, Trey McBride, who's a tight end, who's a stud. But I think Iowa's just going to limit him, and I don't know if Colorado State scores over 7 points. So,
all right, I know y'all want
Man of the hour.
the most
Let's get to
important
it.
part of the show. The reason why we showed up today.
Just get a nice Borat knot in there. We got 4 plays for you for this weekend. 2 already been given out. The Clemson team total over 28.5 minus 115. UCLA minus 3.5 minus 112. Baylor +7 minus 105 against Iowa State. And then San Jose State money line +120. That's your hungry dog run faster. Going to Western Michigan. Yeah, that plane travel sucks, and the travel off of Hawaii last week sucks extra more. But San Jose, I just think they're a better squad here. You can take the 3 if you're scared, but if you're scared, go to church, as Sosa said. And the 3 plays that were left off because no one cares is Oklahoma minus 17, BYU minus 23, BYU minus 23, and then Florida State. But once I thought about Florida State, I was like, just don't. It's just more financially responsible not to bet on Florida State.
Right.
you make a good point. I don't know how many of those boys out in Cali have ever even heard of Kalamazoo. So,
Well, yeah, that's a terrible travel, but I just think the better team should win up there. That could be a trappy spot that I'm getting myself into, but I like to spar in.
what do they say? It's not a trap if you know if you're walking into one, right?
Yeah, then you're just being a dumbass, I guess. But it is what it is. It doesn't matter if it cashes. That's all. That's at the end of the day.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. Parlay all of Rex's picks and throw the mortgage on it. Thank you, Ben, for joining us. We will definitely try to have you back on another time this season. It's been great having you on. Thank you to PickCity.com. This paid for play and all Daily Bread Media, powered by Pick City. We'll see you all next week, and let's go win some money, folks.
All right, guys. See you later.
Appreciate you.